Hi, I'm Ernie McNaughty. I'm from Parents4LISD. Some of you may not know who we are. We are a discussion group, online discussion group that talks about stuff going on in the Lewisville Independent School District and also stuff that's going on in education in general. We are co-sponsoring this event with the Lewisville Texan Journal with Steve Southwell, who will be introduced in just a second. The idea behind this forum is to try to get students more involved in local governments, in the local school board in particular. There are a lot of students in LISD. We estimate somewhere around 2,500 who are of eligible voting age, who would be eligible to vote on by the May 10th election. So, interestingly, in the November election, there were only 150 people born since 1990 who voted in that election out of 11,000 people in Denton County. So students can obviously make a very large impact as a voting base and having them get involved, and hopefully through this activity here, they'll see that they can have a very direct impact. So we're very excited about this event and looking forward to their questions. I'm going to hand it over to Bruce Adams. He's the Student Voter Forum Coordinator from Lewisville High School. Thank you.
Also, thank you to Parents4LISD for guiding us in organizing this forum, and thanks to the First Methodist Church of Lewisville for hosting this event. I am Bruce Adams, the coordinator for the Student Voter Forum and the current voting LISD student. This is obviously a very important election. Over the last decade, I've had the pleasure to be an LISD student, as have many of the students asking questions today. We've grown with the district and have been deeply affected by the decisions made by the board. This is a defining moment for thousands of students across the district because now we have the opportunity to leave behind a legacy. In a district where elections are often decided by a few hundred votes, a mobilized group of students can make an enormous difference. Tonight, I welcome the candidates to the Student Voter Forum. Moderating for us will be Mr. Stephen Southwell of the Lewisville Texan Journal.
Well, thank you for all the thanks. I won't have to say all that stuff. Thank you everybody for showing up. My name is Steve Southwell, and I'm the editor for Lewisville Texan Journal. We're an online news and opinion website. All volunteer. We try to cover as much as we can what happens in the city of Lewisville and Lewisville ISD. So we are glad to join up with Parents4LISD and all these candidates here tonight to help our voters, especially our young voters, learn what makes these guys tick and what the issues are. I'll go over just a little bit about tonight's forum. We will be videoing. That's my son Seth over there, and he's got a video camera. This will be online in the next couple of days on LewisvilleTexan.com and Parents4LISD. If you are on their Facebook page, I'm sure we'll have that there too, right? Absolutely. Okay, so if you would please, if you've got your cell phone, turn your off for this. As far as the format, each candidate, we're going to give each one an opening statement. We'll go right down the road here, but that'll be the last time we go right down the row. After that, I'll start kind of mixing up a little bit so that they'll have different orders that they'll be asking questions in. After the opening statement, we'll have a student ask about a strategic design item, and that will be a two-part question with 1 minute for each candidate. Then we will have some prepared questions from some of our students here sitting in the front. The candidates will each get 90 seconds on that. And if we have time, we will take some questions from the floor. The students, student seating, there are cards there to fill out. If you're a student and you'd like to ask a question to one of the candidates, just put your name on the card and then write your question and bring it up to me. And if we have time, we'll try to get to it. As far as rebuttals, each candidate's got a couple of rebuttal tokens. So after every candidate has answered a question, if any candidate feels like they have something to add, something they forgot, or maybe somebody has directed something to them, they can use that token and have a rebuttal. But I will also kind of reserve the right to either limit or expand that if needed. So that's about all that is, with that, I will go ahead and turn this over.
Use the other one to see.
This one.
Yeah, use that other silver one. Yeah.
This one.
There. Hopefully that.
Ms. Hassett is first, and this is your opening statement. You will have. Oh, one more thing. The timekeeper is currently up front here. He's going to show you the black paddle, which means you have 30 seconds left, and the red paddle means you have 10 seconds left. And he'll start, I guess, threatening you somehow if you do. So, all right, with that, how much time do we have for the opening statement?
2 minutes.
2 minutes. It's all yours.
My name is Christy Hassett, and I want to thank all the students for coming. This is going to be by far my favorite forum. Seeing your faces out here, the reason why we are up here in the first place is very exciting to get to listen to your questions. I'm actually kind of nervous about your questions because I know the parent questions, but I'm not sure what your questions will be, so I don't be nervous. But I'm very excited because y'all all came out here and took the time. I also want to tell you that I'm a marauder. Just want to tell you that. I know. I think that doesn't happen. And what I like about this forum too is that we're also supposed to encourage you to participate, and that I think is one of the most important privileges we have in America is actually being an informed voter. It's a privilege, it's an honor, and people don't do it enough. And so y'all being here is awesome. I want to encourage y'all to be involved in more than just voting. Recently, I've gone down to Austin to talk to the legislators and testify in front of Austin about House Bill 5. A lot of y'all are seniors, and y'all are under tax, so y'all don't get the benefit of House Bill 5 with the reductions of all the tests. But those that are seniors or juniors understand that all that testing was horrible, and we had to go down to Austin, and one person can make a difference. This all started with one person asking another person, let's go down and let's testify, and let's tell the state what they're doing to the students. So I want you to make sure that you take this to heart, and that you make a difference in your education, and you make a difference in policy as it pertains to your state, your local government, and your all-around.
Good afternoon. My name is Mary Smith, and again, I'd like to thank all the students for coming. I had a son that graduated from Lewisville High School, and now I have a son in Martin. So I'm not partial to Waters or the Lewisville Vikings. I'm not partial to that. We're all one big community, so we all do things the same. My advice to you is that I believe in empowering LISD students to vote in the local government elections, including the governor's, because every one of you here are the future. It is important to take an active role in your local government so that your voice is heard. And also, prior to voting, I would also advise you to research all candidates so you can see our stances on issues. So once again, I'd like to thank everyone for inviting us here.
I think. I'm Krista Stone. My name is Stone, hers is Hassett, so there's two different names. Our names are very similar, the first name. She's Christine, I'm Krista. So I'm Krista Stone. I'm not a marauder yet, but I am raising 3 children that I will be going through the Marcus High School soon. I'm entering Marcus this year. Here. Anyway, we're here, all of us, to really represent you and your parents. And Christy said that, this is a privilege that you get to vote. And it's a privilege, and it's also a responsibility. And I think the fact that y'all are here and you're speaking for your student body shows that you know that this is an obligation on your part to make sure that you're taking responsibility for your community. I don't have any experience being on a board. I have been a classroom teacher. I have business experience, and I'm bringing that to the table, something different for the board chemistry, if you will. But again, we're all here to represent you. We're open to listening to what you want, what you need, and making sure that we're providing the best future for everyone. Thank you. Thank you.
My name's Carol Carr. I'm sitting in the right spots. That was a joke. It's okay. Poor, I know. Thank you for being here tonight. I know you can hear from all of us, but we are grateful that you are showing interest in your community and in your future, because that's what it is. No matter if you, when you go off to college, hopefully you come home and stay here and live here and be part of this community, because you are history, and the kids that will be following behind you will look and see what you're doing now and hopefully continue on with it as they continue to advance and graduate from high school. This is a great opportunity for you all to learn how this all works, because it's different in each community. Some people don't have dorms. I tell people from across the country that what we do here, because I was recently at a National School Board convention, and it was interesting to get their feedback on what we're doing here. Like, we talked about this one and a series, I think we're going to 6 by the time we're done, and then it's counting. But it's vital that you are involved in your communities, and this is an excellent example of doing that. And it's something that you need to continue as you get older, because as you get older, your life will intrude, and you may have parts of your life that you can't do this, but it's important that you always come back and connect with your community, be involved with elections and local decisions, because it's your money, they're your kids. So it's important that you be a part of it and know how the system works so that you can actually get stuff accomplished. So thank you.
My name is Tracy Miller. I appreciate all of you putting this together for us, and I'm excited that high school students in any feeder pattern will engage. Don't let the process of becoming a candidate ever dissuade you from wanting to be a public servant. As you watch these campaigns, they can be a little bit rough sometimes, and you've got to stick with it. I can tell you that my perspective and what I plan to bring to you all is that, you know, I grew up in the country, 3 miles from the stop sign. Everybody was expected to go to work for a union company, work on the farm like I did, go to John Deere, Micro Switch, and nobody got a degree in my family. But I decided as a young man that I wanted to be a businessman. And I worked on that. I worked myself through college. I worked at a factory. I worked on a farm. I worked at a grocery store. I did pretty much everything that you can think of. To pay my way until last year, my grandmother gave me a loan for that one last year, which I ended up paying her for. But I got a computer science degree because I wanted to be a businessman. At the time, computer science people were made good business people because they could talk the talk. And so in running for this, I ran in November on some other issues. My family's here, my wife's here, my son's here, my daughter graduated in 2012 from Marcus. I'm really here to represent the future for you. I think I bring a different mix to the table than we have on our current board. A different level of education, a different level of experience. When you want to talk about collaborating people around the world, in India or Manila or Latin America, I've been there. I've sat in the slums with families who have just lost their baby, or that are trying to get a job in a call center to be able to make $2.50 an hour. I know what it's like, and I've seen their education. I think I can help you make that real and tangible as you look at a workforce that you're trying to get into, whether it's vocational or college degree.
Thank you very much. Our first question will come from Alyssa Rivers. And it will be regarding strategic design.
Hello, my name is Alyssa Ramirez. I'm from Lewisville High School. Okay, did you have like the strategic design book that you wanted to ask about?
On this one, we will be starting with Ms. Kiner.
Okay, Ms. Kyle, which strategic design goal did you put?
The one I chose was, actually I have two favorites, 1 and 5, so I'm going to have to decide if they can't cross over with each other. I know, I have a big one, I know. No, that's fine, I'm just saying that. Number 1 is provide all learners with safe, nurturing, inclusive, and flexible learning environments. So that is my favorite because it involves the learners and the teachers and the staff on the learning environments and how they want it, how they think is the best way for the students, how they think they want to learn, teachers, how they think that whatever class they happen to be teaching, how they think their students will learn best, and for the staff to provide training that is needed to be able to change the way that the kids are learning and make it more adaptable for them, because kids nowadays are a lot different than what we had growing up, because we sat in the straight rows and you didn't talk and there was no collaboration and you really didn't have a conversation that much between the teacher and the student. So that's the one I think is most important right now. And it's my favorite.
Thank you. Mr. Miller, which strategic design goal did you choose?
Before I go to my goal, let me just reiterate, that goal that we have as a district is not what you'll see in the marketplace when you go to work for AT&T or somebody like that. So just be careful that you think that those companies are going to transform to your learning styles. Mine is create flexible systems that result in a learning organization supported by innovative and engaged staff. The district has created a more flexible evaluation process for kindergarten and first grades by using a rubric-based grading system. This allows parents to see specific areas of strengths and gaps in their children's knowledge, which is more powerful than a numeric grade for a subject. The district has opportunities to improve, however, by allowing teachers to use methods that they know work in their classrooms, empowering the teachers. This year, the action step for Strategic Design Goal 2 requires all grades, pre-K through 12, to implement project-based learning. If all teachers use PPL at once, it is no longer innovative or flexible, so the goal disappears. Teachers should be encouraged to employ a variety of teaching methods, not one, allowing teachers to be used.
Thank you. Mrs. Hassett, which strategic design goal did you choose?
Number 7.
Okay. Number 7 aims to design an accountability system that transcends state and national mandates and reflects local values and expectations. What is the district doing well that is consistent with this goal, and what can the district do to perform better towards this goal?
For the accountability system, the current accountability system in the state is designed around the fun, standardized tests that y'all get to take. I know y'all love them. We do too. So right now, the LISD is doing really well because we have really good scores on our district where we perform well as a district as a whole and campuses. HB5 has also added something that the district is working on, which is really good. It adds an accountability part that the community is now part of. And they're currently trying to design that part for LISD. So I'm very excited to see that in the future. The district is also in the Texas High Performing Consortium, where we can create our own standard assessments separate from those of the state. And I think that's where we are failing behind. We need to create and separate from the state assessments, which are not helpful to the students.
Thank you.
Next one is for Ms. Smith.
Ms. Smith, which strategic design goal did you choose?
I chose number 5.
Okay. Number 5 aims to continuously involve our diverse community, staff, and students to use their strengths, resources, and talents to provide engaging, innovative experiences for all learners. What is the district doing well that is consistent with this goal, and what can the district do to perform better towards this goal?
For me, the district is doing well, and as I was reading the Farmer's Buzz, it said Lewisville High School students serve as technology experts at a national conference. And as I was reading that, it seemed like the students were fully engaged and they were bringing to the technology conference things that they wanted to learn, things that they wanted to get out of the conference to take back with them to mentor to other children. And then also, there was an article about an auto tech student at CCE, and I thought this was pretty interesting because he was going to become a mentor to his classroom. So the things that he learned at CCE, he would take back to the students and mentor them. So for me, that was showing a little bit of leadership for the students to go out and, immerse themselves into things that, they really like to take back to the students so that the students can learn from that. So that was one of my favorite was goal 5. And as far as the things that they can do better, I think that tools, resources and tools for the teachers to use in the technology world. And that was pretty much it.
Thank you.
And the last one is for
Ms. Stone, which design did you choose?
Y'all got lucky, you didn't pick any of the same goals. Mine's number 2.
Okay. Number 2 aims to engage learners through the use of technological tools to access, create, and share content, as well as collaborate with other learners throughout the world. What is the district doing well that is consistent with this goal, and what can the district do to perform better towards this goal?
When looking at this goal, it talks about engaging the learners through the technological tools. I think that the tools have been overemphasized, at least the technological tools have been overemphasized in the classroom and across the district. And the tool must be discussed mostly, the one that's discussed mostly is the iPad. And I'm a little nervous. The iPad is the only one of the many tools we should be using in the classroom, but it seems that it's become the centerpiece of the classroom versus the teacher being the one that's generating the ideas and bringing those things forward. So all the focus seems to be on the iPad and the assignments that are on the iPad. The iPad is actually bringing forward the class assignments, the homework assignments, the videos, the demos, the teachers' websites, the apps, along with all the unrestricted games, FaceTiming, texting, and all the other activities that are taking place on the iPad. So the fact that we brought...
Thank you.
You can hold on to the microphone there. Thank you much. Our next question comes from Samantha Martinez of Lewisville High School. And the stuff will be first.
Hello. Okay. I'm going to start off with a statistic from the Gallup poll, which showed that 45% of students showed to be disengaged and 10% were completely checked out. Considering the poll, how do you plan on changing the engagement of students in LISD? And this question is just in general for anyone who wants to answer.
So is it to me or to anyone?
It's Ms.
Oh,
Stone.
Ms. Stone first.
Oh, okay. And it was about the students.
Yes,
Correct? The students are either not engaged or actively disengaged. And I think that that's not the best statistic in the whole world. It goes back to one of the things I'm talking about, which is the iPad. I think the Gallup study also showed that the teachers were not engaged or actively disengaged. I think it was at a level of 55%. And that being the case certainly affects the students being not engaged and actively disengaged. We need to make sure that we understand why this is taking place. The poll was, I believe, just check marks. And unless we have more information as to why, we can't dig in and figure out what to do to change that.
And next is Ms. Smith. Thank you.
How do you plan on changing the engagement of future students in LISD?
I think what we need to do is, as a community, we need to make sure that we are making sure that our children's needs are being met, and making sure that they're engaging in activities that we want to see them excel in. We want to produce leaders and educators. This is their future. We want to make sure that they go on to do well outside of the LISD district. So with that being said, that I would look at the curriculum and see what the test scores, and then I would also look at statistics to show what are we doing wrong in this area, and how can we improve in order to make the students more engaged in, their studies or in school, because school is a very important part when you go off to college, or if you decide to take another trade, then you want to be able to take that same mentality that you have in the school district outside into the college in order to perform well. So I think that, as a community, because here just listening, it's like, oh, I'm a Marauder fan or I'm this kind of fan. I think we're just all one big community, and we just need to reach out and help each other in order to build up a community and educate our students.
Next up, we'll go to Ms. Texan.
I would engage the teachers because they're who you are with. They're the ones who are the professionals who are supposed to be doing this. What I would like to see the district do is communicate better amongst the schools and in the school and amongst the schools. Because there's always those great teachers that you have. And sometimes it's hard to quantify or qualify why they're great. But if we could build on that better and find out why they're engaging more and what they're doing. Are they doing technology? Is it a good use of that technology? Are they doing group projects? Are those group projects just regular group projects that are taking time? Or are they projects that will make you think about how to use those skills when you leave for the workforce, leave for college? I think trying to get the district to work together and share the goals that we have amongst the kids and the teachers is one of the key things that we can do in order to make y'all engage more. Because sometimes biology not so much fun, but if we can share that information within the district, that would be my goal.
Next, Mr. Miller.
One of my favorite topics. If you have pressure at home, a lot of times as a student or a child, it's likely that there's pressure elsewhere at home. The reason that the surveys are coming back that way about students is that the Gallup surveys say, regardless of what you might hear in a few seconds, that 45% of our teachers are disengaged. And Gallup defines disengaged as checked out 9 out of 10 times. The communications office of the school will tell you that disengaged means satisfied. It's false and it's a misrepresentation. 55% of our teachers are disengaged to actively disengaged. Why is that? They've been coming out and speaking to me in droves. The reason is there's so much pressure on them. Even the district's own consultant, Phil Schlechte, said do one initiative and do it well for a year. But yet most initiatives, digital learning, PDL, flipped classroom, blended learning, you name it, is being done all at the same time in the same campuses, and it's too much pressure on teachers. And therefore, it's too much pressure on you. So that's why the pressure is there, and it's a boiling pot getting ready to boil over. I'm advocating taking our foot off the pedal a little bit, doing like we do in business. We reevaluate every couple of years where we're at in those strategic goals, and then we reevaluate what the right goals are going forward. And again, most importantly, how we're going to measure them. Today, they're not demonstrable measures in place. Like, we're going to finish 10 of these. That's a goal.
So as this was a little discussion that was held after a Dallas newspaper article. And I'll say what I believe and what is told by us by Gallup is that teacher morale is not down, it's actually increased. And what you'll hear is the 45-45-10. 45% are actively gung-ho, I want to go to school every day, I want to be in my classroom every day for 15 hours. And then you have the ones that are, let's see what's going to happen. I'm worried, but it's also, there's Gallup's definition. Those people are disengaged, means that they are satisfied with their jobs, put their time in, and have a wait-and-see attitude about their job, which happens when there's change. Now, we say that 45% of teachers, now considering we're talking about another group, another industry, we can look and see what Gallup says about them. So we have 45% of our teachers are engaged. Well, nationally it's 35%. So we're doing pretty good there. If you look for managers, executives, and officials of other things, 36%. So we're doing better there. The physicians, 34% are engaged. Nurses, 33%. Clerical office workers, 30%. So considering we're 45%, I think we're doing pretty good.
We do have a follow-up question, and then we'll allow you, if anyone wants to have a rebuttal, we'll do that after the follow-up.
Okay, my follow-up question. How will you motivate students to stay engaged in school over the years? How will you motivate them to stay engaged?
We'll go with the same order with Ms. Stone first.
Remind us, one minute.
Yeah, this is a 1 minute.
Again, it goes back to using different tools. We have to find out what reaches each and every student, and using different teaching methodologies throughout the day to reach every student will help reach each and every one of them at whatever level it is that they're receiving that information. We have to find things that interest them. We have to find tools that interest them. We have to keep their parents engaged. We have to give them more than 4-year plan goals. We need to have a goal, short-term goals, if you will, to have them have their eye on the ball and keep moving towards that prize, if you will.
Ms. Smith?
I think that what we need to do is, since we did have this Gallup poll and the students did take the Gallup poll, the same thing needs to happen. We need to have a list of ideas and then have a comment of things that the student, likes and the things that they are interested in, so that way we can take all of that, use that resource, and figure out what we need to do in order to keep them motivated. There are certain things that, they're not motivated in, and there are certain things that they want to be motivated in. So I think listening to the students, because, I'm a parent, so when I come home, I listen to my child to see what his needs are, and then we go from there. But I'm just not forcing my needs or forcing my ideas on them and stating that this is what you should do, this is what you should do. But there are things that we as a, community can do in order to help motivate the students in order to achieve their education goals.
I would also like to use different tools, because I agree, you do the same thing every day in school, you're not motivated, it's boring, you're not learning, if you're not motivated, and you're checked out. I think all the different tools are very helpful. I think the technology can help you. I think group projects can help. I think that if we also focus on less teaching to the test. Teachers are teaching to the test because right now it's also their job. They have to make sure you pass because you need a diploma. You need to have that in the world. So if we can have less teaching to the test and more actual learning, more substantive learning that you can take out in the real world, I would want to make sure that we can do that to motivate you.
And it goes back down to Mr. Miller.
Thank you. Let me first say that on April 9th, the statistics that Ms. Carter gave were debunked by Gallup, and so that's an article people can look up. But the way that you stay engaged is, remember that the world is not perfect. There are going to be interruptions, things that you'll trip over on the way. And it really comes down to you setting goals that you want to be successful. And no matter what you think of today, what you think your life's going to be 10 years from now, it's not. And most of us as adults in this room could say, every 10 years, if we thought our life was going to be that way 10 years from now, it didn't turn out the way that we thought. So being engaged means sticking with it, right? In spite of some of the obstacles. People are trying to force you into learning a certain way, being educated a certain way, do things a certain way. You've got to somewhat comply with those, but at the same token, just decide that you're going to look beyond that and be successful and set goals that are the things you can look up to rather than look down to and go from there.
And Ms. Carter.
When we look at the student engagement, of course, each student is unique, and they all come to school with a different set of problems, unique set of abilities. What's important is that we learn to address some of the issues. Because some kids come to school not knowing where they're going to sleep at night. They don't know where they're going to, if they have food for the weekend. But then you also have kids that are worried about which parent they're going to be staying with this weekend, what's going to happen. So they come to the table with a whole different set of issues, learning disabilities, things that they're not interested in the class because they're just not interested in the class. I mean, I was never much of a science kid, I preferred history. So to engage them in a learning that is, but it's just everybody comes with a different set of problems, and that's something we have to learn to do.
Thank you. Thank you, Samantha. The next question, before I get into that, we have any rebuttal? Anyone? Okay. Our next question will come from Dalton Franks from Lewisville High School.
Hi guys. My question pertains to the splitting of Lewisville High School. And my question is, was it justifiable to split Lewisville High School? And if showing the test scores and teen pregnancy, if it is proven so successful as splitting us, why is it not being repeated in the Lewisville LISD?
Right. The first answer will go to Mr. Mills.
Well, I think that the reason it's not being considered is the decision was made, and the charrettes were charades. At the end of the day, the charrettes that were pulled together, I think it's well known on record, and Ms. Kyer said that the community can have input, but it would not be considered. It was a different approach to Marcus and Flower Mound. There were physical structures where the campuses could have been built on site, the 9th grade campus, but the breakup of the campuses and therefore the breakup of Farmer Pride was done very differently than it was done in the other zones. And if I was on the board, I would have fought like some of the other board members, Brenda Latham and Mike McDaniel, who fought for that to be reconsidered. I've watched all the budget workshops, including those that Carol walked out of, and we should have done that differently. We have to treat, John Dewey said that which we want for our wealthiest kids, families, we want for everyone. We should have done this with equity, and we did. And therefore it has created this long-term divisive structure that today is very disruptive for the LHS feeder system. It doesn't create unity. It doesn't allow you to be in the same clubs. It creates competition at the 9th grade levels, the 10th grade levels, and finally when you get to high school, you get to be a part of the big group. It was done with lack of equity and fairness. And if we're going to say we're going to have a charrette and listen to everybody, let's not make it a charade. Let's make it a charrette and listen to everybody.
Mr. Miller? We'll go to Ms. Kyer and then on down the line this thing.
I mean, I could talk to that. Yes, I was on the board when that was a decision. As a board member, what you do is any decisions you make are the decisions are with the information given to us by the administration, by people that are working with the students in that zone. So it's not up to us to go out and ask a lot of questions. It is at the meetings, but as far as making our own decisions by talking to a few people, the people that I talked to really wanted this for the students. They thought it would make them successful. They thought giving the 10th graders another year with the same teachers they had in 9th grade would make it so they were more successful. A lot of them were always successful. They wanted to make them better, make them more successful in what they're doing in life and keep them on track to graduate. So I listened to people who were working with the kids that were there. And I respect those people, still do. And it works. Now, everybody can say about the charrettes for the other high schools, because as far as those go, they were supposed to go on a different campus. We got a different occupant. So it was different administration. But I believe in 9 times.
Could you repeat the question?
Was it justified justifiable to split Lewisville High School and based on the things that we got, improved test scores, bringing down teen pregnancy, why is it being repeated in Lewisville High School?
Okay, so you're asking if it was justifiable to do it at one school and not the other. Is that the question directly? Okay, I'm trying to figure out exactly. No, it wasn't. And I just know a little bit about this. It sounds like we kind of split some communities apart. It was my understanding that Lewisville High School was supposed to be almost a beta site for this type of initiative, and it didn't come to fruition. It sounds like there just are a few issues to be dealt with, like busing and the expenses of busing. We're paying over $1 million a year, I think, extra just to bus the kids back and forth from campuses. They're missing classes, if I understand correctly. There's room on the Lewisville campus, I believe, to actually bring everybody back onto site so that we can bring the community back together. You need to grow up with your peers as best that you can. Sometimes splitting everybody up is unavoidable, but it sounds like this is a doable situation as long as the district can afford it, the community wants it, and it's the best thing for the students.
I also agree. I'm a bus driver, so having to shuttle the students from the 9th grade campus to the main campus is exhausting for the students. And I think that, yes, they all should have been on one campus. My stepchildren, they were at Killow. And it was kind of hard to shuttle them from Killow back to the main campus, and then you go from Harmon back to the main campus. So there's a lot of shuttling going in. There's a lot of students on the bus sitting for periods of time through traffic in order to get to the main campus. So I think that what you do for one, you should do for the other. We're all one big community. We're not, this is one side over here, this is the other side over here. Education does not take sides. We all have one big community, and that's what should happen. Everyone should have the same advantage as another person or another school. We shouldn't have separate schools. We're here, and the campus is way down the 15 minutes away, and the other campus is 20 minutes away, and then you have on Marcus, where it's just the walking distance. So I think everyone should be on one side.
Was it justified? I don't know for sure. I do think that from what I read, what was going on, because I was living here, read the papers, and the parents that were in the papers liked the idea of the 9th grade campus when they started Killing as a 9th grade campus, to separate those 9th graders from those mean upperclassmen. And having a 9th grader, I can understand where it would be easier for them to transition into high school, having a separate campus, trying to get used to, because it is a step up from middle school, so having that step up in a more secluded environment. When I was reading, I liked that idea, so I think that was a justified idea. The addition to Harmony with all the other problems that it came around, I think that was divisive of the community, and I think that was not helpful to the students. But I know for our other two campuses, a lot of the other parents were also looking forward to a separate campus when they were talking about that originally as well. The parents seem to think it's okay that it's going to be attached. I still think I like the idea of having the 9th graders separate so that they can get used to high school by themselves.
Thank you, Ms. Hansett. I see that Mr. Miller has a rebuttal, so if they can use their, that'll be 1 minute.
All of these hearings that took place and meetings that took place are online on YouTube. I encourage everybody to take a look at them. But Ms. Kyer talks about listen to them. Even Dr. Waddell, when he came, was receptive to some alternative campuses. When President Gregg brought this to the table by the request of Mike McDaniel, a newly elected board member, Ms. Kyer was so incredulous she walked out of the meeting. That's how much she cared about getting to the real answer and listening to people. There were meetings that took place, and yet she decided that she wasn't going to participate. This is something that could have been done differently. Even our superintendent had ideas on how it could have been done differently. Campuses like you saw in Capel. We cannot walk out of meetings when we're talking about disrupting something with Campus 001. Was there pressure to do things? Yes. Was there pressure to get principals in place and split classes? Yes. Did we do it wrong? Yes.
Ms. Kyle.
Yes, I did walk out of the meeting. And I walked out of the meeting because the meeting was subservient to things that didn't need to be discussed again. The parents were upset because it was being discussed again. I had parents calling me upset because they love the 9-10 campus and they wanted their kids to stay there. They wanted them to be successful and they thought this was what it was. So the reason why I walked out is because they were beating a dead horse. The decision had been made, the campus were set, the results coming back were great, and the kids were being successful. So you can keep bringing issues back if that's what you want to do, and then any decision that you think you might make when you're a school board member can come back again but you have to carry on. You have a responsibility to let the kids be successful and get a chance to be successful, but if you keep beating a dead horse, you're not going to get anything done you'll never look for.
Anyone else on this one? Okay. Yeah, I believe you have a follow-up question on this one.
Wanting to be an educator, be an English teacher, hopefully come back to LHS so I can coach football. So as a teacher, if I want to teach and I'm teaching at Park, and my students come in 10 minutes late because they have a class on the main campus. As an educator, do I stop and start the lesson over, or do I keep going and hope that my students will be able to catch on, be able to learn what they have missed those past 10 minutes? With all being bused from LHS to Park.
And the follow-up will go in the same order as the original question, which is from Mr. Miller down this way.
I'm not sure. I think that it's a huge inequity that certain students would come to class 10 minutes late. So I think that the principal and the administration need to come up with something that's fair and equitable for everybody. Our Constitution provides for equity. We can't set up a system where, because we decided to bus you in and make a different decision on our facilities, that you're disadvantaged. So I don't think that should be on the teacher. If it is on the teacher, I would assume that you just reset when everybody gets there and go from there. But I would hope that the administration is taking these things seriously and trying to provide an equitable infrastructure for everybody so that everybody starts the class at the same time.
Thank you, Ms. Kyle.
It's administration. It has to be fixed by the administration itself, the principal and the staff, and even the bus company and what can be done. I know that's also an issue when the kids come from Career Center East or from any place else in the district where they might be bused for doing other things. But so that's important that the schedule is kept, because the master schedule, which is done by the campus personnel, not just the principal, but all of the teachers, and they all have a say in that. They need to make sure that they understand that there is an issue with that and what can they do about it. Because that is, it's a site-based decision, because it might, like for instance, kids coming from Career Center East all the way over to Lewisville might have shorter than the kids, or longer than the kids going to Hebron or Colony. So there, that itself has to be a discussion with Durham and the site-based personnel.
I'm probably going to be all over the place on this one. There just seems to be so many barriers or hurdles, not barriers, hurdles to jump through. And that there are just alternatives there. We've invested so much in technology that everybody wants to boost. Can we not Skype? Can we not teleconference? Can we not do off-site video teaching classes? Can the students stay in one location versus busing? Can teachers go, which is not a great use of their time? There's all different ways of moving, but to disrupt the class, you're losing 20 minutes of your time versus 10 minutes. Even if they walk in 10 minutes late, because if you start over, those students are listening to you again, and you've lost 20 minutes of teaching time. It's not productive, and I don't have a perfect answer, but no, it's not okay. It's just not okay, and we've got to figure out how to do the best thing for the students and be productive with the teachers' times and our resources that we have in place.
I think it would be an administration question. I don't think that would be something on your part. I do work for Durham, so there are times when we do have to go to Parents4LISD, and it does take a long time. We're not going to drive 70 miles an hour just to try to get a student there because, you know, we want to be safe. We want to make sure their safety is first. So I think before the board even made the decision, go out and drive that route and see how long it's going to take you to go from the main campus to the Harmon campus, or the main campus to the Philo campus, or the main campus to the CDC. Drive that route and see how long it takes. There's a lot of things that go on with the bus. We have the school zone, we have traffic, so there's no way that you can get there that it is a bus issue, or maybe it's the bus needs to go a little bit quicker. We are just trying to get our students there safely. So I think that before you make any kind of decision, you do need to weigh the pros and the cons. And if it's not working out, then you go to plan B.
I love your questions, just have to say that. It definitely is an administrative issue because the teacher shouldn't have to be dealing with that. Having said that, it happens all the time, is my guess. And my answer to whether the teacher should stop or continue is it depends. What are they discussing that day? Is it something that is on the test and they've just missed that? Is it an easy thing to catch the child up later? Can someone next to them help, even though that's not the optimal way of doing things? So I think it would depend on a day-to-day basis for the teacher to have to figure out what would be the best alternative at that time in order to help the one or two students that have come in late, as well as the rest of the classroom. The teachers really have to do that kind of thing all the time. They have to figure out what's best for all the kids.
Okay, we do have a rebuttal, so go ahead, Ms. Smith.
I don't think it's what was the teacher teaching that day. That really doesn't really matter. The fact of the matter is that there should have been more research done to those campuses. You know, figure out the mileage and see how long it's going to take. And, you know, that's all that there is to ask. It's once you do that, then you'll know that, okay, they're going to be 10 minutes delayed or they're going to be 5 minutes. See what the traffic is that day. There might be an accident. So there's several causes that go into, you know, getting a student from one campus to the next campus.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, thank you. Our next question comes from Ernesto Flores of Lewisville High School.
Hi. My question is regarding the iPads, and to prepare for my question, I did a survey, 3 surveys actually, conducting 50 people in each survey. And what my results were that 90% of the students did not view the iPads as a necessity. 78 said that the iPads did not make them a better student, and 82 viewed the iPad as a toy instead of a learning utensil. So after hearing this, do you still view the iPads as a profitable investment for the student's education?
So the first answer on this one will go to Ms. Smith, and then it will be to Ms. Stone.
As I said before, when we were talking about the budget, I said that you would have to, you know, scale out the iPads. I do think, you know, the iPads can be a distraction. It's proven that, you know, the scores are low, the test scores are low. You want to make sure that it's used and designed for things in the classroom. Yes, we are in a technology world, and yes, you know, when you do get out in society, you will want to know and learn how to use technology. So I think there's a place and there's a time for technology. My sister teaches at a school in Oklahoma City. They do have that, but what they do is the teachers check out certain iPads and they take them to their class. and they learn for that day. So they're not taking them home, and they also shut off at 4 o'clock. So they only do like a specific project on that, and then they're done with it. And then they're back to their regular studies, the classroom studies. So I think that classroom studies is so important. You know, everything cannot be done on the iPad. So I think, yes, in some cases, you know, it's if you want to do a group project at that specific time, then yes. But 24/7, you know, that's kind of hard to do all the time, and then also try to get some type of benefit out of it.
Oh, not passive. They're a distraction. I think they're viewed as a toy. I have 3 kids. They all 3 are thrilled to death that they have them. I struggle to get their attention. I think the teachers are struggling to get their attention. I think the teachers are struggling to keep everything that they have to have on their school webs and everything else. Just quick, I have 3 kids, 8 teachers each, 24 passwords, 24 logins. Do you think I'm engaged? I'm not. I'm busy. I'm too busy to do that. When I want to know what my kids are doing, I have to depend on them telling me the truth. And it's very frustrating. It's scary. I don't know what they're being taught sometimes. I ask for papers. I'm told that it was electronic tests, that there are no papers. I see nothing. And there's just a lot of fear. And if we're trying to engage parents, this is not the way to do it. All I hear about is apps, 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 apps. I'm spending money on apps that have nothing to do with school. I'm told that they do. I call teachers, I ask them, what about this assignment? And they say, go to my school web. If I was going to go to your school web, I would have done that in the first place. I'm asking you to give me some information. Now I have to go look for my login, look for my password, and look for this and look for that to get access. So I think the iPads are a tool and only one.
It goes to Ms. Hanson.
I like the statistics because I would agree with a lot of this. I have 3 sons, 2 of them have iPads, and I often ask them, roughly once a week, what did you do on your iPad today? Just curious, what are they doing with them? And oftentimes they say Edmodo or something that's just a different way to do things. But 90% it's not a necessity. I totally agree. It's not a necessity. But it can be used to help you learn better. I think that it's an introductory rollout. Some of the schools had it earlier, but a lot of these schools are just now getting them. So it's a learning process for all of us. Are these going to make you ready for the business world? Probably not. Y'all would have already had those skills on a daily basis anyway. I don't think they're a necessity, but if the teachers can learn how to use these properly for an educational value in order to get you to think deeper or engage differently. It might help your motivation that we talked about earlier, and then it might help you learn more thoroughly about the world around you. So that's my hope for you about that.
Give something that's kind of.
The iPads are a tool. And you'll see and you'll hear from the state legislature that now everything's going to be going online. So as the older students, you guys are the ones that aren't going to see the effect of this tool, so much so because you're graduating. But for the younger grades, it's a tool that's used now for textbooks are going to be on there, and having the textbooks electronic, it makes them cheaper, as we discovered last night. So we'll have the ability to buy more textbooks or more information tools that we can't afford right now because the textbooks we buy are for 8 years. In 8 years, so you'll have 8 students use that textbook, or even more because of the long schedule. So it's a tool that's used, it needs to be used appropriately. And the teachers are getting the training on it. The kids, as much as I like to say, not every kid in the district has a family that can afford to have an iPad. And this gives them the opportunity to learn electronic, to learn to bring it home and figure out how it works. So we're actually talking to the city of Lewisville to develop more hotspots that are more civic minded, so the kids can even use it if they don't have internet access at home. So it's a tool that's needed because it's going to be something they're going to be using when they graduate.
It's not a tool if it replaces everything else. It becomes the standard. And so we had the communications office tell us at a school that MIT has gone away from electronic or paper books. I call MIT my company's headquarters there, and they in fact are not. Many of these schools are not going away from paper textbooks because there are people who like to use them that way. If an iPad is a tool, then it should not replace paper books. It should augment them. Let me tell you that if you look at the industry stats, no place in the country has digital learning improved quantifiably the performance of classrooms or students. It just hasn't. And a perfect example of that is look at countries that outperform us. Finland, India, China, Korea. I've been in those countries. That's a blessing that I've been there. I'm not bragging, but I'm telling you, they are not using iPads in their homes. They are going to hotspots. They are renting them at libraries. These are kids that are outperforming American kids without having wealthy districts provide iPads for them and force them into homes. It's a very important distinction. And so I will encourage people to say, if a 1X is that important and it's the way to go, then find the quantifiable data that says because of this class in LISD that used iPads, their STAR tests were better than the state average. You can't find them. And so again, I want to close with, if they're tools, don't tell the kids everything else is going away. Some people are always going to want to read a book from a book, not a device.
I see some rebuttal tokens out, so we will go in the same order for the rebuttals. It will be Ms. Stone and Ms. Smith.
I want to reiterate what Tracy said. I don't think there's any data that proves that these actually teach or improve learning. They're a tool. They're not idea makers. They're not idea creators. They're research tools. They don't allow our children to socialize. They don't allow our children to talk, to debate, to write. The communication skills are deteriorating, I think, across our younger generation, and we're not promoting that, we're allowing it. They're doing it during lunch, they're doing it at home, they're doing it over summer. They shouldn't have these iPads. If you don't want them in your home over the summer, fine, you can put them in a drawer. But I don't think we should have the responsibility of keeping them at home, the temptation at home, and things like that. So.
I'm just going to come from a single mom, because I've been a single mom, I've been a single parent to where, I've had to work many jobs just to keep food on the table, to keep clothes on my children's back, and to keep gas in my car. So you're asking me to also purchase internet, for the iPads when I get, when the kids or the child comes home with the iPads, that's another burden that I have to go through. I'm just trying to do my best in order to send my children to school in order to get that education so they won't have to struggle like I struggled or like, I was struggling in the past. So in order to do that, you're telling me that you're going to send, the iPad goes home, and then when the student gets out of high school, he doesn't have that iPad anymore. What if I cannot afford that iPad for him to go to college with because he's so used to having it, excuse me, in his school years? So, there's a lot of things that, that goes on with iPads. You have to consider the big picture. You have to consider the single mom. You have to consider, the mom that's out there struggling and trying to get things done.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Any other rebuttals? Mr. Miller?
Back to what Lewisville was doing. So there's a marker in education. It's free and reduced lunches. That's not a marker just for kids who get free and reduced lunches, but it's a marker of a socioeconomic spectrum. 43,000 or less is reduced lunches, 30,000 or less is free lunches. But that's also a marker for other government assistance. The government actually has programs to subsidize broadband in a home that qualifies for free and reduced lunches. AT&T has $100 million for this. They're my client. I've gone to Dr. Waddell and Barbara Brown and said, AT&T's got this money, their CIO went to Lewisville High School, they'd like to get involved. I was told, thank you very much, but nothing else needed. So I reached out to the Deputy Mayor Pro Tem of Lewisville to let him know that that's available. There are plenty of programs out there. The school district needs to help, and I'm saying this in a positive way. Step beyond your walls and look at the kids who are putting these devices in their hands up and find out which kids are having a hard time using them and help them get these government programs. We're not advertising them effectively.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. I believe we have further rebuttal. Anyone? Oh, okay, good.
I think we are in a digital age. There are things I wish we didn't have with the iPads. I do struggle with them coming home. My boys using them when they should be running around outside. But I agree with the statistics you have given, and I think that if we do continue to use this tool as a tool, I think it can enhance learning if used properly. I don't think it's inherently bad. I think we can change the way that the iPad system is designed so that there are more filters for parents, more less ways of the parents that have to deal with it at home. But one great thing we're going to have all kids start doing on their spare time, since I love this, is the hour of code. Has anybody done the hour of code? It will teach you more about actual computers. The iPad is great as a tool, but learning how to use a computer would be even better.
Thank you. And we do have a follow-up question on this. It'll be 1 minute, and it'll be in the same order.
All right, well, my follow-up question is kind of based on what your opinion on the iPads are. So if you like the iPads, it's easy to label them as a tool, but I want to listen to what you guys would do to actually make them a tool. And if you don't consider them necessary or you don't like them, where would you reallocate the money that was used to buy the iPads?
So I believe the order was Smith, then Ms. Stone, then Ms. Sanchez.
Very fine. My question was, if you like the iPads and you want to keep them around, what would you do to implement them to where they're actually necessary and they're actually a tool? And if you don't like them, what would you use the money used to buy the iPads towards?
I agree technology, is something that is sweeping the country. We're going into a world of technology. Kids are going into a world of technology. And I think that, yes, you can use those, but I would use it as a group project. It's not an everyday thing. And as far as where the money would go, I would invest in the teachers. I would make sure that, we have enough teachers, staff, in order to teach, to, make education available and make education something that can take the students, beyond the high school years.
Ms. Stone?
I do see them as a tool, but it's a tool that needs to be restricted. There are different ways to kind of keep them out of the hands of the kids, and that would be leaving them at school, having only a classroom set, which would save money, and you could spend that money on, I agree, on the teachers. That's not like a one-time stipend where you give them a raise and then you don't have the money later. It's a long-term budgeted issue, I would hope, a budgeted item, I would hope. Again, they need to talk more, write more, debate more. Use textbooks. I actually don't see an emphasis on picking up a book and reading anymore. I don't know if that's going on at the high school level, but with my younger ones, I just don't see them encouraging them to pick up a book. They can share them. They don't need them during the summertime. There just needs to be less emphasis on the technology and a little more emphasis on the learning.
It goes back to Ms. Hassett.
I would also do a classroom set. First of all, you would save money because there's less money invested in this classroom set than there is one for every child. you would still be able to use that as a learning tool. One of the great things I've said before, my 15-year-old did geometry class. It's an aha moment for him for geometry. They had an app. They had a formula and a shape. He was able to drag and drop the shape, and it adjusted the form of the board. All of a sudden, bang, he got geometry. So I'd like them to use the technology more for those kinds of issues, the aha moments, or some of the dyslexic kids that they can use these to enlarge things, enlarge the font to make it easier for them to read. So those things I think are great use of technology. I would like to do it with more campuses, to use overcrowding. You can't switch the buckets. This came from bond money, and you can't take this to teachers. I would love to be more teachers, but you can't actually legally take this and get more teachers.
Thank you. That goes to Ms. Kiner.
I believe in iPads. I think that they're a great tool. I'm glad we've invested the money in them. $10.3 million has been invested in these, and then we're expecting another $5 to $7 million to finish this act. I believe that it's a tool that it's going to be excellent for our students to have access to. I believe that it's going to be something, I know we talked about, I think you just lost a lot of librarians, saying you don't think kids read anymore. You need to go and see the book fairs are still going on in the district. They're there, the librarians, the media centers, the kids are in the centers now, they're in the libraries, they're reading, they're still using books. As far as, what I believe, I think it's a great tool. The teachers need to think it's a great tool. We're providing the training for them, and that's what's necessary is to make sure that they have the support in order to use this correctly.
Well, there's no doubt that an iPad is a great tool, and if you ask a kid if you can get a free device, which one do you like? The Apple. In our home, we have 19 Apple endpoints. The schools purchased about 26,000 endpoints. They may purchase another 20,000. I don't know where Carol gets the 5 million. It's probably going to be about 20-some million total, but then we'll start having to replenish them in maintenance and operations. We need to define the word collaboration. A lot of people talk about 1X as if it's collaboration, and 1X is really a lot of access. You're accessing Google Docs, you're pulling this down, you're sending this over. The collaboration is minimized. And the other thing is, make no bones about it, this world of collaboration that you're being told about is not what exists in the real world. It's a world of access, a sharing information. It's not the sophisticated collaboration that one might think as you're being put through this form of education. If we didn't have the devices, because that's part of the question, what I would have done is put the money in the facilities, which is what we told the voters we would do in the first place, is that we put it in the facilities. We should have done another bond election if we thought we had devices.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. We do have a rebuttal on that one, and that is your last.
We just like you sitting there. You've been there a long time.
Appreciate it.
I have here in my notes, and I'm not quite sure where I got my information now because I have so many notes, is that we're actually looking into our maintenance and operation funds to actually continue to funding the iPad investment. So I'm not quite sure if it is just a bond funded expense or if we actually are dipping into our maintenance and operation funds. And I also have here that we were going to tap into our $141 million fund balance to continue to fund them as well. So I just wanted to bring that point forward.
Thank you. And we have Mr. Miller, you spoke of this.
Oh, I thought you had to do the rebuttal there.
No, you spoke of it. So thank you. Next, anyone else? Okay. Next, we have Alexis Brown from Lewisville High School.
Good evening, guys. How are y'all? Good. I have two questions for you guys. Okay, so my first question is, do you think that block lunch benefits students at Lewisville High School?
And this one will go from Mr. Miller. Miller, then Kai.
The question was around block lunches?
Yes, sir.
Okay. It's my understanding that block lunches are being considered in other campuses because it has been perceived as successful at Lewisville High School. It's an ability for clubs to get together, especially in the kind of fractious environment you have with schools being separated, but clubs can get together and meet. They can have 10 minutes of lunch and then 30 minutes or whatever the period is, I don't know how long the period is. But that it's been very successful and other schools are now looking to implement the same. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir.
So block lunch is only right now at Lewisville High School. I know some of the other high schools have time to look and see how it's working because it does give the students the opportunity to do clubs that they might not be able to do either because they have sports after school or they have other commitments after school, especially, maybe family commitments or they have a job or something like that. So the block lunch allows them to do some of the clubs, whether it's French or, Latin or whatever club you happen to enjoy. But also, I think it's great because I've not seen it in action. And so to see the students engaged and be able to communicate with each other and socialize is something that they normally would not have been able to do because they're in class. So it gives them a little aspect of socialization and also the feeling of camaraderie with their fellow students. So I think it's a great idea, and I hope some of the other campuses decide to do it too.
Goes to Ms. Hassett.
Just in case some people don't know what block lunch is, it's an hour-long lunch where they have 30 minutes to eat and 30 minutes to do whatever. I love lunches. I'm going to love other schools to do it. I think it's helpful not only for students who are needing a little extra tutoring time, because they can use that time to go tutor. They can use it for social clubs, so they can meet during that time. Johnny has to pick up the younger sibling, so he can't stay for social club, and so then they get to have that time during the day and interact with their peers. And studies have shown that if you get kids involved in activities, they tend to do better in school. They're more engaged in school. So if we can get them in the clubs during the school day, I think it's very helpful to all of the kids. I think that the other schools could benefit because of their proximity issues. They're closer than Lewisville. So I think other schools should highly consider block lunch because they're very, very helpful.
It goes to Ms. Smith.
I think it's great. My son graduated from Lewisville High School, and I love the idea. I love that he was able to go out and pick and choose, a club that he wanted to, and go out and be more social, talk more. I got him to talk more. So I think it's, a good thing. And I also think that, what you do for one campus should spread to another campus.
And to Ms. Stone.
Well, to stay consistent, as long as they're not on their iPads, I think it's a great idea. My elementary age kids, they have block lunch, I guess. They go to lunch, then they go to recess. So it sounds like a wonderful idea. I still don't have high school kids, so I really can't speak to it with experience, but I've heard nightmares about lunches at Fireman and at Marcus, and some of the kids aren't even eating from what I've heard in my neighborhood. So how unhealthy is that? They probably go to school rushed and hungry, and now they're not eating lunch. So I think it's an awesome idea as long as they're utilizing that time for tutoring or homework or socializing like clubs. I think we're all on the same board here, so sounds like a great idea.
Thank you.
Do we have any rebuttals on this one? Sounds like you're in agreement then. Okay, so she has another question, but we're going to bring her back because it is now 8:25 and I want to respect everyone's time and move this along. So our next student that we have is Kayla from Flower Mound High School. I'm sorry to get your last name.
Hi, y'all. So throughout LISD schools, dress code is enforced differently. Some are more strict than others. Why is that, and do you believe that is fair?
And Ms. Stone gets the first answer on this.
This one's easy for me. I don't know why it's inconsistent. I think it should be consistent. I think it should be consistent across the board in terms of handbooks, policies, rules, dress code. There shouldn't be any changes. I'm not a big fan of, I'll be real honest, of zero tolerance in certain aspects of that term. But when it comes to creating a handbook and creating consistencies, we've got consistent goals, we've got consistent beliefs. Why don't we have consistent rules? And the students get confused. They feel as though, I hate the word fair, some feel like they can't do something that others can do, and I just don't think that it's right.
I think it should be the same at all campuses. And I also think that in school, it's hard to actually make sure that it's implemented successfully every single day. Sometimes the teachers aren't paying attention, that you have lessons on, and you go back and learn again, and then you said, well, I learned last time. Sometimes those kind of things are hard for the teachers to catch every single time. But I do think that it needs to be across schools, and they need to be aware of all of the rules and try to make sure that they're implementing them across the whole school evenly every time. Having said that, this might not be popular, sometimes when they start becoming lax on some of the issues, I think the students benefit on some of these issues that they're not dinging on as much. They realize, hey, a streak of red here, it's not a distraction. So I think sometimes if the campus themselves can have the local control over what they deem as a actual problem or distraction, maybe then we can affect change on what the policy is for dress code and then make it more fair across the district.
It goes to Ms. Smith.
I think there should be a set policy on dress code. Understand that, students want to express themselves through their clothing. As I was looking through the survey, there's a lot of things on here that, ear piercing, nose piercing, ring piercing. There's a lot of things. So I think there should be a set boundary on a student and what they can and cannot wear throughout the campus. And I don't think it should be just for one campus. It should be implemented for all campus. I'm all about being fair. Regardless of what school you're in or regardless of, where you're at, it's, you have to be fair. So I think that in fairness, we need to make sure that each campus have the same rules as the other campus.
And it goes to Ms. Connor.
This is actually one of the items that's before the school board last night during our meeting. And they have done the survey, which was actually one of the most participated survey. I think 22,000 people actually participated in this, so that's really amazing when you think of it. And that's one of the things that we have a chance to do now with electronic emails and stuff like that, and iPads, people go on and they wrote and stuff. But anyways, I digress. What's coming before the board is everything from piercings to hair color to what they wear to. One of the board members mentioned last night she didn't want the cheerleaders wearing their uniforms because that's a distraction for young men. And so there's an issue of equality across the district, and they should have all of the same, each high school should have the same rules. They should be enforced. I don't know if any of the parents here have ever been in that high school during changing period, which is really weird. You really don't want to be there. And to be one of the administrators standing out in the middle of that and perusing and making sure everybody is meeting the standard, and kids slip by. And they slip by a couple times. I had a son that wore a t-shirt that shouldn't have worn that, but he slipped by a couple times. Mr. Tickett can talk to you about that here. But it's an issue that's going to be always there, and but it has to be equal across the district.
I agree that it needs to be equal, and looking forward to what the actual published results will be after the survey. I also think it needs to be equal in enforcing the uniforms that we wear between feeder patterns, because sometimes there's inequity in that, in what you're supposed to wear in middle school, and if you go play in the colony and you come over here to Farmont or Downing, you might get a little more latitude on one side. I think we need to be consistent with that, but certainly as it relates to the overall school policy, I think it's tending towards conservative. I think that's what our area is about, and I think that we should enforce it fully where possible. Things are going to fall through the cracks, so we need to be careful that we don't come down on administrators too hard or one or two slips, but we need to make sure that all the administrators are watching carefully and making sure that kids are not getting by with some of the clothing in particular that was mentioned here earlier.
Thank you. Did we have any rebuttals on the agenda? It sounded like you're fairly in agreement. Thank you. Okay. And we have a question from Farouz.
Before I start my question, it was very refreshing to see you guys agree on the last two questions, especially on block lunch. For a student that's in 7 clubs and officer in 4 of them, it's been great having block lunch. I'm very thankful and forward to that. So growing up, the LEAD program was a cornerstone of my educational experience. There, I met like-minded students who were just as driven, ambitious, and competitive as me. Studies have shown that gifted and talented students often become leaders in business and politics, as well as in other spheres. The cancellation of the LEAD program not only compromises the needs of the GT students, but shortchanges the future of our communities. The official narrative is that LEAD was canceled because we weren't in compliance with state guidelines. So the district decided to give all AP teachers GT training. Not only does it defeat the purpose of GT programs, forcing all students into a one-size-fits-all mold, but it has been harmful to GT students overall. If elected, what will we do to make sure that gifted and talented students have their needs met?
Thank you, Farouz. The first answer on this one will go to Ms. Kyer, followed by Mr. Williams.
So what is your question?
My question is, if elected, what will you do to make sure that gifted and talented students have their needs met?
For gifted and talented, that's what it's called across the country. We call it LEAD, and that's something that they're trying to change to gifted and talented, so it's more cohesive, so people move in and they understand what gifted and talented. When you look at gifted and talented versus a high achiever, there's 2 different ways. That the high achiever student is the one that wants to get the A on the class project. Doesn't matter what the class is. The gifted and talented, they think differently. They have a different mindset, a different learning ability. So there's 2 different ways. Because some people mistake high achiever with gifted and talented. It's important that they have their issues addressed, and I know that there's discussion going on in the district right now on how to address some of the issues that have arisen, because funding's been cut, a lot of funding for gifted and talented. We're not getting the funding that we have gotten in the past, and so that is an issue in itself, so we have to figure out how to make sure that we're delivering the services to the students. So there's going to be an ongoing conversation started with a group of parents from the gifted and talented community, and I know the first one is May 5th, I believe, and so we need to have a discussion on where the parents expect their kids to go and what the district can do for that.
Yeah, I think if I'm not mistaken, the word LEAD is gone and it's gifted and talented now, but this is a move by the district to create this homogenous type of education, so whereas the state won't give them money for GT, they'll then drop it. And if the state did that for special ed, watch them drop it. Those 2 triggers trigger the formula being an accelerator for you to get more money from the state. The superintendent, I talked to him for quite a while the other day, the intent is to create at a GT level this homogenous type of education where kids that are GT will be blended into everybody else. And so whereas they might excel even in an AP class, they're going to be combined with other kids, so it'll create very much complexity for the teachers. The district is not thinking about it. The district has done this. And what happens when House Bill 5 has allowed the district to reduce the standard Every time the standard can be reduced, the district has voted in support of reducing the standard. And you can look at the social studies requirement, you can look at the different career pathways, and you can look at it from a GT perspective. This is something that if we're going to have a high-performing school district that's a lighthouse, we need to keep GT, aka LEAP, back where it was and have these classes where these kids are serviced properly and effectively. And I think Kendra Stevenson spoke well to the board last night on it, and probably her comments should be looked at.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Then we'll go to Ms. Stone and come to Ms.
I have a few things to say. I'm going to kind of read it real fast so I don't run out of time, if that's okay. There was a study in 1971, I read a report, a paper about it that produced evidence that students who were identified actually as intellectual and talented, which I kind of use that as gifted and talented, at the age of 12, they became very high achieving adults by their late 30s, working as CEOs, transplant surgeons, and professors, just to name a few. Of course, this is only one study, so it doesn't mean every study is going to come out with the same result, but the results seem to make a lot of sense. And there have been programs in place for decades that provided for enrichment and accelerated learning, and LISD has participated in these programs. I'm a bit concerned about why these programs would be eliminated when they've proven to produce such awesome talents later in life. We need the talent. We're here to produce wonderful, valuable, contributing members of society. I understand that resources for education are limited, but moving emphasis away from one success to compensate or pour more resources into another bucket that may not produce the same successful results only lowers the bar on this side and further attempts to raise the bar on the other end. Our number one core belief is every student is uniquely capable of and deserves to be challenged each day. These opportunities to leap higher, are being challenged when we eliminate programs like this.
I think I would have to look at the resources and see why the LEAP program was taken out. And that's why I think it's so important for parents to be involved and engaged in what's going on in the district. As a parent, I would want my son to achieve higher than, I would want him to be pushed down. I want him to excel and go higher. If I know that he's running at a fast rate, then I would want him to go a little bit higher and a little bit higher and a little bit higher. I don't want him to go below the line, but I want him to go above the line. That's his talent, and I want him to use his talent in order to progress, in order to make his education the best that he can be. I want my son to have the best education LISD can promise in order to go out and be a blessing to society.
I do believe that there definitely is a difference between gifted and talented and high achievers. And I do think that we have a strongly weighted financial system for special ed kids. And I'm not sure why it was changed for sure. I will definitely, this is an area of great interest for me. I want to make sure that everyone is challenged. And the gifted and talented kids need to be challenged in a different way in order to make them be all that they can be. I think that we have so many resources toward one particular set. We need that same type of resources somewhere in one of those buckets for gifted and talented. We have aides and teachers and lots of different things for special ed kids. We need the same kind of aides and teachers for gifted and talented. We need not only the teachers, but we also need those aides to help the teachers so they can help evaluate and test and push the kids. But I do think that the district needs to do a better job and figure out what else the country is doing, bring it back into the high school level, and push harder in the other elementary and secondary levels as well.
Thank you, Ms. Hassett. There is a follow-up question. Before we do that, does anyone have any thoughts on that? I think you have used yours, Ms. Smith, Ms. Hassett, as one remaining. What about yourself? Ms. Tyler is one remaining as well.
Would you support GT-only classes for core subjects? So it includes not only the humanities as it did in the previously program, but also math and science.
So that will go back to Ms. Kyer and Mr.
As far as humanities, if the numbers are there, that's where the issue comes, is the numbers to support the programs that would be there. I'm all for discussion with the parents and to see what kind of, I know right now for math and science, they have the kids in the AP and working we might want to talk about a modified block, changing that a little bit so that it's all year long. I know that my daughter was gifted and talented, my youngest, and she had humanities all year long in a modified block. So that worked for her, and she enjoyed that. I'm not sure if, it all depends upon the response from the students and how much we actually have buy-in on that. Because we might have 10 kids that want it, but 10 kids couldn't support a class. So it has to be an ongoing discussion. I'm all for having that discussion with the parents and the students and the teachers and the staff to make sure that it's something that actually will be supported. So hopefully that's going to be part of the conversation.
Well, I think this is where HB5 kind of got us on GT, where we weren't doing it for some of the STEM stuff, so we had to start looking at how we could incorporate that in. I don't, in 52,000 students, we're going to have enough students for a gifted and talented, and I know we have LEAP at the middle level, but we're talking to high school kids here tonight, so it's GT. If we say it depends on how many students we have, if we use that same mentality and said in special ed, we'll offer special ed, these heterogeneous education models, if we have enough students, that's not going to fly. So we need to have the same on the upper end. It's always worked here. There are people who have moved into this district because we were a lighthouse for GT. And now we have let HB5, once we want local control, once we had an opportunity for local control, we drifted away from having a high standard. And that's a fact. And there's plenty of GT groups starting because of this in each of the feeder zones. So I think that we offer it unilaterally and fix this problem once and for all. Sorry. You're going to cut your neck off.
Go back to Ms. Stone.
As I understand it, looking at the numbers is obviously a good place to start, but if we're doing this down in the lower levels, I think that we're missing a lot of the kids. I think there's more kids out there that are gifted and talented than we actually have identified. And if we start identifying them earlier, the numbers will definitely be there, and we can continue to build that program before they even get to the high school level. So we need to start sooner to build those numbers. We need to make way for budgeting, and so staffing is a huge issue, because if we've got the numbers, we've got to make sure that we have the teachers to do that, but the teachers have to be able to do more than one thing, and one class of GT students does not make a full-time job. So there are budgetary constraints, but we can make it work as long as that's what everybody wants to do. I think the local people want it. So I think if you raise the issue, you're going to get the support from the parents and the community.
I think that is not a want, it's a need, and you have to make sure that all parents are engaged and open that discussion for their child, making sure that the education provided is not set limits on them. They're not lowering their standards, but they're making themselves more and more educated beyond the standards that's simply on the test. So I think that parent involvement and parent engagement is crucial in order to bring about the programs that are needed to make sure that our children are striving towards the best education that they can, and making sure that they are not just lowering their standards just since the district is not allowing them to move forward.
He literally stole my thunder. Sorry about that. But I had thought the same thing entirely. Wouldn't it be great if we could create some kind of humanities block for science and math? I think it would be awesome. I've never been in late, not smart enough. But I do think that that would be a great thing for those kids in those classes. I would definitely support it. I also agree that we don't have enough kids who are identified. I know a lot of schools have a lot of kids who are identified, and in some schools don't have very many kids who are identified. And I don't agree with that. I don't think that the teachers aren't identifying them. I just don't think that they've come out of their shell. I think we have brilliant kids all throughout the district. I don't think it's a numbers issue. I think we have the numbers there. They're just not identified, and we need to figure out those kids so we can bring them to their fullest potential. And I think that would be a really good idea to do that.
Thank you very much. Did we have any other public on that? Okay. With that being said, it is 8:46. I think we can fit in maybe one more question from a student before our closing statement. So I believe, let's see, Alexis, did your question about week answered? Okay, we have Patricia coming up from Lewisville High School.
This is kind of going with the technology thing. In training teachers, do you think that it is important to touch on tolerance for technology in the use of the classroom? Some teachers use technology more than others. Do you think it's unfair that there's not equal opportunity to use technology in each and every class?
That's okay. Okay, so this first answer will go to Ms. Hansett, and it'll just go straight down the line.
I think I'm once again going to say it depends. My second grader is in outdoor ed, and one day when I said, "Would you use your iPad for today?" He actually said, "Well, we didn't use it in outdoor ed. No, we used it in outdoor ed today." I said, "Is that unique?" And he said, "Yes, she never lets us use it." I said, "Well, you're in outdoor ed." So I think it's phenomenal that in certain classes, they don't need the technology, and then other classes would benefit greatly from technology. So I think if the teacher is trained, or if the district is sharing those resources with all the teachers so that they know, hey, this is a great resource for this class. And now, I think it would be helpful for all students. If the teachers knew more how to use the technology in each class so that we could use the time more effectively in each class. So no, I don't think it's bad that it's not used throughout every class individually.
I think that it, you can use it on group projects. I don't think that you should use it throughout the whole classroom, because that's a time that you're learning and the teacher is teaching. So yes, it can be a distraction, but I think that if you're doing a certain group project, or you're doing like a photo kind of thing, or you're trying to put together, some type of timeline, or you're trying to do some type of science thing with it, then yes, I think that, it's a great tool to use. And as far as the teachers, there are some teachers that, are not as tech savvy as, other teachers, but they're willing to commit and learn in order to, get up to speed with the other teachers. So I think that you do need to have continuing education in order to allow the teachers to use the tools more efficiently in the class.
Could you repeat the question? It was like the last thing you said, the question.
Do you think it's important for teachers to learn?
Do you think it's important to touch on tolerance of technology in the classroom? And do you think it is unfair that there's not equal opportunity to use school-provided technology in each and every class, mainly for classes?
Well, you can talk about tolerance of the technology, so I'm not quite sure I'm going to touch on that one. But it just goes back that there's a time and a place and a way to apply the technology to make sure that we're using it to the benefit of the child. I have one teacher that one of my kids has, that they go into class and they're told to watch videos, listen to this, watch this, and then do this assignment. And that's all they get every single day. So there's absolutely no teaching. So training is extremely important, monitoring is extremely important, discipline is extremely important, and just making sure that we actually use the tool to the benefit of educating our kids.
Okay, there are, of course, the technology being in the district is not actually new. We've had all kinds of, different laptops and everything, but making whiteboards, making it available for the teachers. But the disruptive technology, what they call it, is making it go and so that more teachers are using it. They have to be trained, of course, which we offer a lot of opportunities. There was a camp this past week. It was 5 days. It was after work. So that's something that we're using. As an example would be the Farmers Teachers cohorts, if you know what that is. What is that? That's the whole staff at LHS, Harmon, and Kello in Main campus. What they have to do is they're evaluating educational theory versus reality in the classroom. So it's being discussed.
I was speaking to a trainer the other day from one of the big high schools, and he said he had gotten back here earlier this year. He was in a meeting 2 days prior, and they said they gave him a laptop. I said, what are you going to do with it? He said, I don't know. This is a forced march for many of our administrators. I think the teachers who don't have iPads are saying, taking a deep breath, because it's one last bit of pressure on them. And so we talk about, we heard last night, one school had 15 months of training, really. Those schools had 15 months of training, like you would in the corporate world. What's happened is the devices are put out there and the teachers are supposed to figure out how to use them. They are considered a tool for those that want to say, well, it's just a tool. But here's the challenge with that. Let the teacher teach. These teachers who come out of school, who know how to teach, who want to capture a child's heart, guess what? They want to teach. But they're being told, we're going to do it with PPL, and you're going to do it with the classroom, and you're going to do it with that device. And I want to make sure that if there's a person to come around with a checkboard, guess what? You better be doing that stuff. So teachers are frustrated. So I think the teachers who don't have iPads, hey, cool.
I believe that we have 2 rebuttals still out, and I see Ms. Smith has one.
I wanted to add the issue on whether it's good that they use them all at the same time. Part of me thinks that it's great that we have these new district initiatives that are trying to push our children to be better. But then sometimes you have those great teachers who are great at lecturing or are great at other things. And I'm hoping that we continue to let the teachers be great at what they are good at and don't force them. Why? So that we can make sure that we let them use their abilities to teach the students to the best that they can teach them. Don't force them to use whatever initiative is around if it's not broken.
Thank you. And I believe we have one more rebuttal token on the floor.
So I've heard a lot about in the real world. So in the real world, if you are a payroll clerk and you're told, okay, we're going to this system now, and this is the system you're going to have to learn, and this is what you have to do. What do? Do you say, well, I'm not doing that, and I don't want to do that, so I'm not going to? No, you learn that system. So we're talking in the real world. If we want to apply the real world to our school district, it is a tool. It's a tool they get to use. It's a tool they get to use, but they use it in conjunction with everything else they get to learn. And the kids the new teachers that are excited to teach, they're excited to teach using technology. And they get to use technology. Some of the older teachers that have been around a little bit longer that might not want it, but they're getting excited about it too. So we do have a real world here. It's out there, and we all just got to embrace it.
Thank you very much. I believe everyone's used all of their rebuttal tokens, and now it is time for and thank you, Patricia, appreciate it. Now it is time for the closing statement, and the final order in this is going to be, and this is going to be a 2-minute, I believe. Right?
Yeah, 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Okay, so this will be a 2-minute, and we're going to go to Mr. Miller first, followed by Ms. Kiner.
Bottoms-up development of programs, curriculum, and classroom effectiveness is always the best approach, and one that I would incorporate rather than the current practice that the administration is the innovation factory and the classroom and the teachers are simply delivery mechanisms of the district. The board and the district have had their time to establish controls and success criteria for strategic design, but not have yet been able to show success in student achievement as a result of spending hundreds of millions of dollars in technology, curriculum, and many other so-called transformationalists. We should not initiate more programs and spending without effective measures in place, including proper accountability of parents, students, and taxpayers, and then incorporate technology, curriculum development, and demagogy, the psychology of learning. We need someone on the board who has a track record of leadership, finance, technology, and 21st century workforce. It is impossible to impart to our district, our children, and our families what we, in fact, on the board are preparing our children for. In fact, it is something that we have not experienced ourselves. Without that experience, it's difficult to question or challenge the contemporary thinking and education reform sweeping across the country. Technology, while important in the learning process, has yet to show an increase in student performance. Millions of tax dollars are being spent without a clear direction or measure of success. But lest we get too wrapped up in digital and 21st century learning, let me say that the essential mission of the public school system is not only to prepare workers, it is not only to prepare young people for global competition, it's to develop citizens with the heart and the character to make decisions for themselves, for their communities, and for society. With that as a baseline, we can prepare them for high-capacity jobs that they choose in their future. It's time for a leader who will complement the existing board by bringing relevant experiences to our children, families, and teachers, and a leader who will listen, not limit, respond, not reject, communicate with transparency, and collaborate with every one of the constituents. An era of hope, not fear, encouragement, not threats, trust and respect, not carrots and sticks. Respect for students, respect for families, respect for teachers, and respect for further ongoing collaboration.
Thank you. Ms. Kiner?
Thank you all for inviting us. I know we also thanked you earlier, but I read the directions. So the closing statement is supposed to be, we would like the closing statement to discuss our future as young citizens. What part of advice do you have for us? So you've got the world at your feet, and you're entering adulthood. I hope that you get to be excited about your future. I hope that you, as you venture out, you remember everything that you were taught at home and you were taught at schools. The value of community, the value of family, the value of any religious beliefs that you've gotten. Don't forget those as you go on. It's so exciting to see what you have in front of you because you are the leaders of the next 40 years, maybe next year. Maybe you're going to hang around next school or next year, who knows? You're eligible. So I hope that you just remember everything that was taught in here while you've been an LISD student. I hope you remember that we're here in case you ever need anything and help with anything. I hope you keep in contact with your fellow students because they're the people that know you. And you're going to be venturing out into the big bad world. And I hope that you enjoy yourself, you're successful, find your passion if you haven't found it yet, and I hope that you're just safe and healthy, and that you are just go forward representing LISD as a model citizen, and have a great life. I hope it's successful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Kiner. And then it goes to Ms. Hassett.
I did like the closing argument idea of us giving you some words of advice. One of them is that the parents are smarter than you think they are, I promise. Be the change that you want to be. Don't let people say one person can't make a difference. They can, and you can be that change. I also want to make sure that you don't listen to the naysayers. Don't listen to the people who want to plug you into a certain hole. They don't know you like you do. You need to believe in yourself, and even occasionally we'll even have parents will even plug children. Oh, I know my son because he does this. Well, you need to figure out what you believe within yourself. So don't listen to the naysayers. Believe in yourself. Also find your passion. Right now, I have a very strong passion for education. And I'm glad that it's rubbing off on my boys. They're watching me be active in Austin. They're watching me be active up here. And they're watching me find my own passion. And I want them to look for that. And oftentimes the passion can be what you do for a living, which would be great. But you don't have to do what you're passionate about as a job. Find your passion and it can make you happy. So, we can't buy you happiness. But I do want you to remember that you're strong citizens and you can do whatever you set your mind with a little work.
Thank you. And it goes to Ms. Smith.
In my closing statement to all of the students, I think that you need to go out there and be the best that you can be. Take criticism, turn that into empowerment. Your leaders, you're going to be active in your community. Bring back to LISD leaders, future leaders. I was a single parent. There were times when, I struggled to make my connection to go to college. But I did that. There was something inside of me that kept reaching for education, kept wanting to go back, kept wanting to get that degree. So I say to you, keep reaching, keep doing what you do best. Move those obstacles out of your way. You know what you want in life. Go for it. Be the best that you can be.
Well, thank you all. This has been just great. This has been probably my favorite forum so far. In closing, again, my name is Krista Stone, and I just wanted to say that our children are so precious, and our churches, homes, and schools have been the most influential on them until they're about your age. So now you're about to be on your own. Your devotion to this community is very admirable. Just being here and coming up with the questions and being thoughtful and showing interest is just, it's a great quality for all of you to have. Stay true to your hearts and you will go far in life. Stay committed to investing yourself in your community, in yourself, and we will all benefit from that. You are the key to the future. You're the key to your future, you're the key to our children's future, and futures of the kids after that. Your investment and commitment give me comfort for my 3 children. I too am here to make a difference and to serve as a voice for you. I hope you will give me the opportunity by voting for me and voting me into place 6 for the board.
Thank you very much, candidates. I really appreciate you showing up tonight, and thank you to all of you for joining us.
Thank you to our moderators, Steve Southwell. Awesome job. Thanks from me also for everyone who showed up. Really, so proud of the students who showed up here. My wife, who's a teacher, always talks about how great it is to work with the kids, and she's kind of got me involved in this thing. So I've been working with Golf, Bruce, Ernesto, Samantha, Alexis, and the rest of the students for the last couple of weeks. I've given them some ideas how to prepare for this forum, and it's been a delight. I'm so proud of you guys. You did a great job. Awesome. And candidates, awesome job as well. Just great working with the students here. I really appreciate you all coming after this. Before everyone takes off, we'd like to do a photo op real quick. If the students will line up behind the candidates.